Welcome, everybody, to the Neuro Masters show, where we uncover the transformative powers of the mind. I'm Reg Malhotra, your host, and I'm here to guide you with practical tools and inspiring stories grounded in neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis. Now, whether you're a high achiever feeling stuck or a growth seeker looking to overcome setbacks, join us each week to break through barriers and achieve profound personal and professional growth. So let's dive in and unlock your potential.
Okay, welcome back to the Neuro Masters Podcast. If you have ever felt stuck, you're frozen in place, knowing that you need to move to achieve a goal, but you just can't get going, this episode is for you. Whether you're avoiding decisions, you're delaying action, or you're just spinning your wheels in confusion, Reg Malhotra is here to unpack what's really going on and how you could take steps to finally get unstuck. So, Reg, thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here today. I think it's a very powerful topic.
I want to start with this idea that if you are not actively working toward your goal, or if you're feeling stuck, that it's a laziness problem. You hear that a lot. Can you maybe unpack that a little and go beyond the idea that, well, if I'm not getting something done, I'm just being lazy?
Sure. Yeah, look, most people in general, they want to do something good. Most people, this is the, it's a design of the human being. We want to feel feelings like pride. We want to feel feelings like accomplishment. And although inertia can set in, which can show up as laziness, because if you spend long enough not doing what you know you should, then suddenly the prospect of doing it can seem like a lot of work. And that kind of laziness can creep in. Having said that, if one is feeling stuck, stuck, stuck is simply again, it's a inertia. If you've not done something for long enough, then it becomes the new normal. The second reason why stuckness can last longer than it should is fear of things not working out, fear of failing. Um, and it's a safety. It can become a safety zone. You know that old saying: if you never want to be criticized, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. And then there can also be practical reasons, people related, location related, that can sometimes take stronger meaning than they should. So yeah, it can look like laziness. A lot of times it's deeper fears. It's running pictures, sounds, and feelings of things going wrong. Let's take an example of working out, right? Just a lot of people, how should I say this? But I will say it. A lot of people get stuck not working out. Most people know they need to do some form of health activity, some form of exercise. It's not news. Literally everybody would know that some level of it's a human body does way better with movement, activity, and exercise. Everybody knows it. Then why doesn't everybody do it? Again, if you spend long enough, say something happened, you had some projects going on in life and you couldn't make it, maybe you had a baby or whatever that is, and you couldn't make it to a regular routine of, for example, going to the gym or going for a walk or going for a run or whatever the things people do. If long enough goes by, then it becomes a new normal, not working out. So that's the first thing that can happen. Then it can start looking like laziness because, uh, there's this thing I used to say: the more you do, the more you can do. I mean, you look at moms. How is it that so many mothers are not only running children, they help in the house, they will even work. I remember I used to know a lady who was a lawyer. He was a principal, or one of the principals of a law firm. She was on three different boards. She she had children, and she used to manage horses. She had a few horses on her property. I was blown away. There was another lady that I knew. She was a financial planner, and she used to take part in marathons, and she had growing children, and she used to play in a band on weekends in a bar. Like, it's so amazing. And one of the things I noticed that, if you want something done, give it to a mom. Why do they say that? Right? So I'm not veered off a little bit, but I wanted to just keep it real, keep it practical. The more you do, the more you can do. So, if you're feeling stuck, so you could feel stuck because you're not doing something you need to do. It could be exercise, it could be that big project, it could be, creating videos. I don't know. Um, so many different forms of stuckness, and really, what solves it is taking what we call as imperfect action. You know, progress is better than perfection. Throughout our life, we get trained on the idea of perfection: A or B, pass or fail, right or wrong, black or white, all that sort of stuff that is constantly broadcast to us through schools, through colleges, through even workplaces. And either we get it right or we don't. Now, perfection has a place. I know, if I go to a heart surgeon, I don't want someone who got 60%. That's, or I don't want someone who might wing it. Sure. But in general, imperfect action will take people further. So it's about just getting started. It's just about, one of the things that I do is, I take the very first step. I take the very first step as soon as possible with anything. Just the first step. For an idea or a vision or a goal or an objective or a desire or vision, so many words for the same thing, to be well formed. We have this idea we teach in neurolinguistics. For something to be well formed means it has a higher possibility of being achieved. The first step must be specified and achievable.
Is there something you mentioned taking the person who isn't exercising or any goal? Is there something going on beneath that guilt, shame of not doing it, and the longer it continues, that just grows and grows? There's also, I imagine, fear, and you mentioned it, fear of the unknown, fear of a past failure or mistake that they made and were judged for. Can you talk a little bit about those emotions that are going on beneath the surface? Because on the surface, we just see someone who's not getting the job done.
Yeah. With any phenomena like that, there is always two limbs to it. One is behavior and one is root cause. So we just spoke in the last question, we spoke about behavior. There are plenty of ways that one can influence their behavior in spite of the root cause. It can work, but it can come to a hard stop. So you're right in asking this question. I've always felt this way. I've always looked at behavior because it's very easy to go on social media and say, hey, just go to the gym, just do it, and all these motherhood style things. And everybody knows that, consistent action is the key. Everybody knows it. Yeah. Right? You got to be moving. A car cannot go left or right if it's parked. It's got to be moving because it collects data, it collects feedback, it knows what not to do and what to do more of. But that's the behavior side. Many times we can just, we have a lot of techniques, for example, in NLP, and one can even use hypnosis. One can use a lot of subconscious mind tools just to influence the behavior. Suddenly you find yourself getting up, going to the gym, eating healthy, or taking consistent action, daily action. So that's a behavior. What is the better format is root cause and behavior. Like you said, root cause is due to significant emotional events in the past. They could have happened in school, they could have happened at work, they could have been major events, right? Where people experience multitude of negative emotions like anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. These events, they stay alive. They're in the nervous system. If you can think about an event and feel emotion now, the event is alive. You may think it's happened, your nervous system doesn't know. It's alive. It takes a certain amount of energy to keep the event alive. That energy is no longer available for you to create the future. That's pretty much, in a summary, the concept of the energy cube.
Yep.
So then, one needs to really evaluate and audit what are the major events that have happened in your life. And then, of course, you can do deeper work like we do with people. But as a minimum, look at what are the major events. List down all the major events that happen in your life. With each event, have a look at what meaning you have taken, or what limiting belief you have taken about yourself, about others, or about possibilities. Now list them all down and ask yourself, is that limiting belief or the meaning you made, is that affecting your life today? And you'll be surprised, 90% of what we currently do in our life or what we are not doing is a result of events from the past. Imagine an audit like that, listing down chronologically as many events. Now the trick here becomes that sometimes we cannot recall the events consciously, or sometimes we may not realize there's something else. And that's where some more structured work, we work with people very closely on that. Identify those events, remove the emotional charge, remove the limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. See, people make decisions. I've shared this often, this story before. When I was in high school, I auditioned for singing. I don't know why I did it, but I heard there was audition going on. I literally just walked in the auditorium and anyone could audition, so I auditioned. I never sung. I just love singing, but I didn't know that singing is a whole skills. And I didn't really know how to hold the microphone. Those handheld microphones. Apparently, you had to hold them close to your chin like this, and then speak out, something like that. And I just held it like directly on mouth, and it screeched the speakers. It was so embarrassing. There was a whole group of people that were laughing. Even when I left the auditorium in the corridors, I was being laughed at. I was being mocked. You can imagine I experienced a cocktail of emotions. What's her emotion? Sadness, hurt, and anger. Those are some very powerful emotions on that one event. Anytime I thought of that event, my state changed. Energy cube, it's alive. Then, when I eventually got on to do the work, I couldn't believe it was, I made a decision there. Maybe not, I didn't speak it out, but I made we call it subconscious, unconscious decision, a limiting decision that I cannot, you can imagine what sort of decision I would have made there. I cannot be seen in public. I cannot perform. I cannot be on stage. I don't know. Can you believe it? And that's my life's work. For 10 years, that decision operated. So all those things, so for example, say I hadn't done the work, and now I thought to myself, I want to speak, I want to present, I want to train, I want to change people's lives, but I'm not doing anything in relation to that. If I wasn't, then it's possible that and other events could have played a role. There were some people in my life when I was young that told me that I'll amount to nothing, that I'll be able to do nothing, that I'm a loser. Those events were also, those voices were also impacting, because I was stuck too. So it's very practical what I'm saying here.
If you are carrying these limiting beliefs and you're making these decisions for yourself, as you said, you make a decision that I can't get up on stage ever again, whether you're making that consciously or unconsciously. How do you begin to turn that? Is it just, I'm sure there are multi steps to this, but do you have to put yourself in that position again? How do you undo that limiting belief?
Well, what I said in the last question was really the beginning of the undoing. So first audit, find out the events, then look at what possible meanings or decisions you made about yourself, others, or life or possibilities. Then uh, dis, you know, evaluate whether that's is still operating and it's stopping you from some things. Then you need to decide the opposite. Then you need to put yourself in situations, but you need to make that decision before. Now, this can be done. A lot of people have done it organically, but if there is a lot of emotions on those past events, then one has to make peace on those events. Some people do it rationally. Some people can rationalize. It's called organic healing. But for most people, certain processes need to take place, and we obviously do that with a lot of our clients and students. We get them to do certain visualization techniques to disconnect the emotion from the events, to install and attach new meanings at the subconscious level. Otherwise, even if although you should try those things, that can be a really powerful form. You know what they say: if you do something 5 times, something you fear 5 times, the fear reduces by more than 50%. But can people make it to those 5 times? Some people can, some people can.
I want to
But
talk
choosing new
about.
meanings of old events is a fabulous, tremendous start. What meaning would you like to have now? What did that? See, we often ignore the dark side. We only want to look up. You kind of got to go to the darkness, see the light. So the point here is choose what meaning would you like. How has your past helped you? How has it made you who you are today? That's the big question. Bad things happen to people. Very nasty things happen to people, to almost everybody. But those who are doing something great, I can guarantee you they have a new empowering meaning from that event. You know, the worst day of your life could be the best day of your life if you have found a way to give it a new empowering meaning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. What would you say to, let's say, a high achieving person, very successful? They have a history and a habit of getting things done, but their the source of their stuckness is burnout. They just worked so hard, and now they're burned out. Is it a similar process? Is it different for someone who's trying to recover from burnout?
It's it's slightly different, yes. I mean, in fact, we speak to a lot of people who want their mojo back, who want things to be the way they were. And burnout is an interesting concept. It's a it's a term loosely used, but really, if you look below burnout, um, is that what you've been doing and the way you've been doing it is up for question, right? Everything has to change, everything has to grow. All that person needs is a new way of doing things. They need to have new meanings. They have to be willing to let go of certain things, even if they worked. They have to explore a new way of doing things, something that feels more aligned, something that feels. I believe that burnout also occurred because of misalignment with values. Somewhere your personal values are being breached. We call it burnout almost to make it sound like we're tired, but burnout is a signal. Hey, we've done what we've done to this date. Now we ought to do it differently. So for high performers, high achievers, rather than wanting the past to come back, I learned this the hard way. You got to think of a new way of doing things that feels more aligned. Sit down and figure out which of your values have been breached, right? If if you've only done it from a place of proving something to others, you're almost guaranteed to have a burnout. There's a it can be very useful, but at some point you've got to do it for to fulfill your values, to actualize your personal values.
Are there techniques that people can use when they, you mentioned you can feel it in your nervous system, that kind of pause, that frozen feeling in the moment. Is there something that people can do to unpause when they're feeling it in that moment?
So two concepts, two little techniques I'm going to talk about. Earlier we spoke about behavior and root cause. So root cause, like I mentioned, the root cause needs to be addressed to make it sustainable. But we can always do something about behaviors in the meanwhile. Two things that are relevant. Number one, state. What state are you in? State is an inner feeling, right? State is, are you in a, you know, unmotivated state? Are you, because states happen as a result of what we're thinking about. What pictures are we running? So first thing, all behaviors are state dependent. And if you're not doing something, you're just being unresourceful, means you're in an unresourceful state. There are plenty of ways to change your state. Number one, move your body. Physiology is the first place to go. Where you, if you lie down, the state worsens. You got to move. You got to go for a walk. You got to you got to jump, dance. I don't care. Listen to music. Something that changes your state means what you're focusing on. State is a combination of physiology, what you're focusing on. You got to become aware and focus on something else that brings you pleasure, brings you joy, brings you. So focus, physiology, focus, and emotion. Change your state and now see whether do something small just to get the rhythm of accomplish. One of the things we say is nothing is more powerful than a rhythm of accomplishment. Either people aim so big that it's overwhelming, or they aim so small that it's boring. Like people don't pick the right goal. In this day and age, you have the ability to choose a goal that is right for you, aligned by your values, and then have micro actions daily. Something powerful happens, like this mysterious force gets behind you. So you're going to take a big goal, big idea. What we suggest is break it down into three. Your brain does best with three. Break it down into three top, you know, aspects of it, and then have micro actions under each of those big steps. big aspects. And then all you need to do is get up every day and take one micro action each. You do that for long enough. With my research, it can be 2 weeks or 20 and 25 days. You do that, it's no longer an effort. It's just gonna work. But that's why picking the right goal is critical. Knowing what is important to you, not what's important to them, what world says. This is how you build the rhythm of accomplishment. The second technique I want to talk about is focusing on the consequence of completing something. See, if I'm thinking of going to the gym, I really like the process there, but I'm just an example. If as I think about the gym, I may immediately run pictures, sounds, and feelings of doing the actual work in the gym, the process. Most people focus on the task itself. If you can focus on the consequence of completing the task, for me, if I close my eyes, I see myself rather than just going inside. If I see myself at the end, everybody feels great after the end of a session, workout session. I'm feeling so amazing. That allows me to take the very first step. And like I said earlier, with whatever you want to do, take the first step as fast as possible. That's why when you're forming an idea, a goal, a vision, a desire, it's best to have something where your first step is specified and achievable. You should be, here are some of the other rules of making something well formed. Means it's formed really well, means it's at a higher possibility of achievement. Number one, it should be positively stated. So it should not be, I don't want to be overweight. It should be exactly what you want. Number two, you should be sufficiently in charge. Sufficiently in charge, right? You can't have a lottery as a goal because although it could happen, you're not sufficiently in charge of it. Number three, ecology. It should feel like a win-win. It should, what is the consequence of that? Here's another reason why people get stuck. People choose goals and desires that are going to affect others in a negative way. Is consider the ecology. Is what is the possible impact on those closest to me? And there are different levels of ecology. Next one is what is the impact of the community or society that I live in? Then what is the world? So as long as you focus on what is you will behave like you're stuck, but in reality, if you made a movement on it, it will affect your marriage, it will affect your family relationship, it will affect something. That's another one. And then you should know, you should have some idea of the steps needed to get there. Just the knowledge of the steps needed to get there. See, when I choose a oh no, okay, that's the first step, that's the next step. That I got to do the work. I got to know the steps needed to get there. Number 4 or 5, whatever that was. Someone should have done it before, right? And like I said, the first step should be specified and achievable, right? And the last one, there should be more than one way of getting there. You apply this process, these steps, there should be more than one. I can just about guarantee you there's going to be progress. And when progress happens, momentum builds. When momentum builds, you if you don't get it done one way, you'll get it done another way. And if you don't get the exact version you want in, you'll get a close enough version. I just laid it out for you.
I think people listening are going to be ready to get started. Um, Can you talk a little bit? You work with clients all the time who feel stuck, who really want to achieve big goals, and maybe need a little bit of help getting there. Can you talk about a client that you've helped to get unstuck?
Um, the two main areas where it's shown up a lot is in to do with relationships. So either it's leaving a relationship or entering a new one after having been hurt in the past.
Ah,
You see a lot of people when I ask them, "Oh, I don't be in a relationship." Okay, but would you like to be in one? Yes, but I don't want to be in one. So that means they're operating from the past. They don't want to get hurt. They don't want to get rejected. And so I had plenty of cases of people who have resolved them inside themselves, applied those principles that I said to you, gone back either in dating or those matching websites and just gone in with not an absolute expectation of getting it right the very first time, right? Hence they got unstuck because they're just meeting people, they're evaluating their choices, they're seeing what works and what connects, and it got them moving and having the ability to say no. So all those steps that I said are applied. The second area is someone who's never ever ever got into business or starting something of their own can feel stuck for long periods of time because so much comes with it. So I have plenty of stories of people who, the couple that I spoke about, there's a couple that I spoke about in the last episode, who had basically, had long 25, 30-year careers, and they did some of this work. They resolved a lot of things inside of themselves, but they still were stuck in getting something started of their own. They applied these principles, um, chunking it down, breaking it down. Is the first step specified and achievable? Do they know the steps to get there? Through our mentoring, they were able to evaluate the steps needed to get to their vision of having that particular healing type of business they wanted. They looked at ecology. They looked at, are they sufficiently in charge of it? Like, of course, they're going to be sufficiently in charge of it. Right? Is there more than one ways of getting there? They saw all that, and all they had to do was take the first step. The first step was having conversations with enough people. They were stuck in doing that. Once they found out the pathway to doing that, how to bring in, genuinely people who are in the market for that service. And all I said, take the expectation of yourself, just have conversations, just make offers, just figure out what people want, what their needs are. And at some point it'll click. Guess what? One person bought their service. They were elated. Suddenly they had the energy to have those conversations again. Suddenly they started to build better systems. Suddenly they were okay with the fact that some people buy, some don't. Suddenly they were okay with the fact that not everybody's going to buy. All they focused on was finding out the need, having a conversation where the solution work is right for the offering it. And they were able to just do that, and it turned into a process. Next thing you know, never in their life have they done anything like that. They had a full-fledged business selling a service to people for $3,000, and they had a process where they offered people a free session. Some bought, some didn't. So it was just about applying those same principles I've said. Make it doable for yourself. Make it easy for yourself. Get that rhythm of accomplishment going, micro actions. And that's all we really need. We need to have enough, and we need to have the ability to be okay letting go that some things won't work out, whether it's in dating, whether it's in business, whether it's in trying to get the next promotion. I think it's my biggest message is allow yourself to receive in small levels, small accomplishments. Number two, be okay not being great at something when you start. They say most people are not willing to suck at anything. Nobody who's great today did not suck at something at the start.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to the energy cube. Do the root cause work, do the behavioral, change the behavior, and align them both. And, not only will you move, you may not get the goal in exact the way you want it, but you will be far along, People say, what if I go 100 miles an hour and I end up in the slightly wrong direction? Well, at least you know how to go 100 miles now. I think we can pretty much close this episode on this point. It is you just go back and listen to everything that I said in this episode, step by step by step. I guarantee you that is the thing you need to get moving towards the first step and get unstuck. Now, some matters can be heavy, big, huge events have happened in your life in the past. Well, then you need to do deeper work as well.
I want to thank you for joining us today, Reg. And for those of you who are listening, he laid it out for you. You're ready to go now.
Ready to go.
Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Neuro Masters show. I'm Reg Malhotra, reminding you that your trauma is seen, your transformation is possible, and your breakthrough is right around the corner. If you found today's episode valuable, you can visit our website for many more resources, to register for a live breakthrough experience, and to continue your journey of reclaiming your full self.